Hello, everybody, and welcome to the LJL officially unofficial coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Split Playoffs Round 2, Match Number 1, Game 3 incoming. I'm your host, Alex Ellis, and next go by Master One here. Of course, I'm joined by the illustrious Good Brother duo that is Initialize and Nymera. Gentlemen, welcome back to the cast. You've covered 2 games so far, 1-1. Points of note. Blue side has been given twice to V3. Once through side selection, once through Sengoku's choice. 1-1 as well. Games have been, well, very interesting. Slight parity between, we've seen it. V3 pulled to an early lead, pulled it. Sengoku pulled it back, and then V3 were able to fully run over. So a similar game happened here with Sengoku, but the door was firmly closed. Far quicker and more securely by Sengoku this time round. Coming into Game 3, what are your expectations? What are your hopes? What are we going to be seeing? So is that the narrative we have to do now? It's only 4th dragon, the rest of the game doesn't matter now in Nymera.
Pretty high. I really loved how V3 were very prepared for that lane swap. I loved how Sengoku came back and prepared and adapted to the Lilia. They're very good around their Azir, and they're doing pretty well around what they're doing in top lane too. I do want to see these teams more willing to give up dragons instead of like running into the brick wall and losing the game off of it. I mean, that's part of the narrative, right? So, I mean, in terms of, like, is that the narrative? Well, based off the first 2 games, maybe it is, you know? These dragon fights have been very large. I do think that the disengages have been enough in the earlier fights to not break open the game so early, but it is looking like these dragon fights are the be-all and end-all.
So, why do we think we're getting there? Is it due to compositions? Is it due to how the teams are playing? We've seen a lane swap. We've seen vertical jungling being a big part of it. Are these the catalysts that really push us in that direction? Or is it just kind of the game state and the teams are so even that small edges like Dragon is the game breaker?
I think partly is that both teams are playing pretty hard to one side lane or the other and trying to get advantages there. Last game it was Athena with a massive advantage versus Archer with a massive advantage. And it meant that in the end, holistically, neither team had a massive advantage because there was strong points on both squads. Well, and eventually it means that has to break at some point. And eventually it's those mid to late game team fights that seem to be doing it.
Well, Nymera, please give me your thoughts while we run through pick and ban phase, gentlemen. Take it away.
Okay, I've got to go Super Saiyan. I've got to go beyond plus Ultra and both cast, pick and ban and tell you my thoughts about Dragon stuff. I think that when you go towards Kalista, you need to go towards Dragons. You had the Kalista with a massive advantage, therefore you need to try and get that into a lead which is large enough for Kalista not to fall off into the late game. However, when you have such a big side lane pressure, it means that you have to force the issue in a lot of these fights before something gets really, really bad in one of those side lanes.
Alright, so the Kalista got ahead but didn't force the objective win condition. V3 end up in a difficult position and Sengoku come out with the win. It is 1-1 in this series. We have a lot of bans. What do you know? V3 back on the blue side, Sengoku back on the red, and it is Twisted Fate, Orianna and Morgana banned away from V3, so not the Caitlyn that is now banned by Sengoku
I was
Gaming.
wondering why Sengoku are going towards red side. I think one of the reasons is you can go first round on red side Azir instead of first picking on blue side and potentially giving up a huge power pick.
Yeah.
It means that you can give over something like the Lilia, get yourself the premier blind pick mid laner without really any threat of having the counter pick in mid lane because Aces has been losing versus Pyrian so far. You get yourself that scaling mid laner and another power pick of your choice. The set's been given over. That was in the winning team composition from V3 in game 1. I'd imagine we're going to see something like the Graves and the Azir again, or maybe going towards the Lilia and something a bit different for Pyrian this time.
Okay, so it does leave open Bard, though, and NT's Bard has been
pretty okay.
Damn fantastic. Let's not undersell it. Like, I know we're British. I know we like to go for the understatement, but a KDA of 20 and a 100% win rate, I believe, on this champion
pretty okay.
Is damn good.
I'd really like the Graves here too. I think Blank played much better on the Graves than he did on the Nidalee. Nidalee does not have the same impact around fights that Graves does. That's very obvious to say in some kind of competitions, but when you have someone that's worth supporting and you have those Athene's heals into the late game, it's really nice. But they didn't end up playing around the Renekton Nidalee in the game 1 because, of course, it was that lane swap. And seeing another reprisal in the jungle, might be seeing Lilia for the 3rd time in a row from Boogie.
Definitely thinking about it. He was playing with my heart there, hovering the Evelyn. I would love to see this man play it at some point. He's such a good solo queue player of that champion. Alas, not to be thus far, unless there's some strange flex shenanigans going on.
Yes, and once again, we are left with the Bambi matchup.
Indeed, and Bambi is back. So maybe Archer's Callista. They played well around it early. They did not claim the second Drake, however, if you remember, because they got the kill. And then Sengoku Gaming came back in and managed to secure themselves because they had to back off. Saw how the Ren skill wasn't there later on as well. So I'm going to want to see V3 be a little bit cleaner around securing those Drakes if they are going towards it. See what Sengoku Gaming towards. Ash is still up and plays well into it.
So I think that, the Azir is also up there, right? There are enough AD carries that I think you can leave that if you want. I think that the Azir is still the most powerful mid laner you can still get at this point. It's blind pickable, it can play into pretty much everything. It is locked in. That's what I'm saying. Red side for Sengoku, really nice for that Azir 1-2. However, in this case, because the bar is up, they can leave that, and they know that Ace is not a big player of the Azir, so they're pretty happy to leave that up.
Yeah, they leave it till late because they know that Ace isn't going to pick it. They take it here before it can get banned away. Now, V3 and Sengoku Gaming are into the second phase of picks and bans, and I suspect there is still probably a top and mid for V3 yet to be secured, though of course there is a little bit of flex. We know that Ace, for example, does play the set potentially. As a result,
I think set into Azir is lane suicide.
But exactly, I wouldn't recommend it into that one. Yeah.
You do not survive that lane because Azir's DP. The thing is, like, in some matchups, Azir can run out of mana because you can dive in and out of his soldiers, and he has to move them around, and it means that he has to put more mana into it. If you have to walk into his soldiers, he doesn't need to spend mana, and Set is unfortunately one of those champions. He doesn't have great trading patterns versus the Azir unless he has flash up and you all in very early, and I do think that Pyrian has been very good at managing those kind of trades before.
Sure, I think the other thing with Azir, right, is if you force him to QE away a lot, he runs out of mana. That shuffle takes mana. Shifting Sands is not a cheap ability. Sengoku Gaming, are they just going to leave this ban again? No, they do take off the Ornn this time. So, not a misban this time out.
I don't mind that. Again, I think that the Sion did work pretty well for V3 in the past. You can put up the Azir ult and then just walk away. It counts as terrain, and Sion just slams into it if you time that correctly. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I know he is unstoppable. Actually, that's a good point.
I mean, it'll count as terrain, so that won't be unstoppable. That's just seeing terrain.
I'm not sure if it has to complete the animation first. I think
it probably will have to complete the animation, I imagine.
Anyway, so that's not something which I've seen. I haven't seen too much Sion recently. That's one of the things, right? So, however, Sion is pretty good at reaching the backline. Ezreal's been banned away. Ooh, that would be very interesting.
It is the flavor of the month right now.
Kind of is. And also, if you land the Eon Callista, the slow is very, very powerful. However, if you miss that, then Callista just runs you down. The Jhin would be much more safe, much more in the wheelhouse of Sengoku too.
Of course, it has been a go-to for Utomashi's most played. This split has got a very significant, well, very good stats. I think that's the way we'll play that one. Looks pretty good. Jhin Bard, lot of CC. You catch someone like the Callista hopping around at the wrong place, she can definitely get blown up. V3 though, thinking of taking the Renekton into the top lane, and it'll take it out of Apperment's hands as well if they do go towards that.
Would do. So that immediately makes me think, okay, you've got Aatrox, Mordekaiser. Apperment does play stuff like the Kennen too, which can do pretty well into it. And immediately we've got the Ballista locked in. That means very interesting. But this is really, really good with Lilia, right? You land that Bloodstained Lullaby, the hook comes through. One of the things which has enabled Blitzcrank this entire season, the reason we've seen him more than previous seasons, so many people that can have this just point and click dedicated, you are going to get stuck. You follow up with the hook, things get very, very nasty. The Gnar locked in again for Apperment, we saw what it did in game 2. Is it going to be enough, though, versus the laning dominance of a Renekton? Well, that's Gnar's MO too.
And I seem to recall earlier in this pick and ban phase, you called Set into Azir lane suicide.
Yeah.
Ace has struggled versus Pyrian at the best of times in CS. This is going to be rough if he goes towards it, and it will be full tank Set, and make no mistake about it. That's how Ace plays. The mid lane is how mid lane Set goes in general, but
this whole game, actually this entire game, is about the Lilia Blitzcrank interaction. If you don't end up landing that combo, you use the Lilia ult in a poor way, your comp is way too long range to deal with Sengoku. You have Bard ults, Bard stuns, smoke screens, traps from Jin, the wall from Azir, and of course Na being playing disruptor as well. Sengoku, if they manage to survive the Lilia ult, are looking really, really good in this kind of game.
Okay, so it is a very fun combo for V3.
But everything hinges on it.
Everything hinges on it. And this is a series of players I would trust, in fairness, to pull off a combo like this.
If it's from game 1, yeah, but game 2 they didn't make it stick.
Well, they didn't, exactly, and that's the fear, right? Because Sengoku Gaming are no slouches either, and their composition has a significantly broader series of players they could go towards. Blank, of course, is a win condition on that grade. We know Azir can be. Jin Bard, a lot of pick potential. Hell, the Gnar split push ain't exactly a bad option either, right?
And the thing about the Gnar in this game is that Gnar kind of sucks if he has to be engaged. It's okay if he's follow-up engage or something else is threatening first. So stuff like the Jin W from long range, because of course you can team that off of the long range damage, like a smoke screen into that W or Azir Q into that. And of course the Tempered Fate being around as well really, really helps. You can have stuff like very unorthodox flanks with the magical journey from Bard, shifting the Gnar into the backline, saying, okay, well, have fun, just ult and see what we can get out of it. I think that Appleman does have a much easier time getting into the back of fights this game, and he did pretty well in game 2 as well.
Yeah, he did. That said, of course, V3 have ways to get onto any champion they damn well please, right? Lilting Lullaby lands. Ace can go and get someone. Paz can go and get someone. We talked about the Ballista combo. Purina's going to have his dancing shoes on.
Sure. Unless you go QSS second item. I think that if you go...
Bard goes for Mikhail's.
So I really want to see Lethal Tempo, Nash's Tooth into QSS from Pyrian. I think that would be very, very important in this game. He has the damage and the correct comp to go for that kind of build. Going to Leandri's after that as well. Use that HP component. Lots of HP stackers from the side of E3. I think if you go for that kind of build, then the team fights are almost certainly going to be in favor from, on paper, from Sengoku. At that point, it's can you pull out any kind of magic with Fate's Call, Blitzcrank hooks, and of course that Lilting Lullaby, like we were saying.
Of course, as well. We've got to remember, these games have started with intriguing jungle starts, I think is the way to put it. We've had lane swaps, we've had vertical jungling. I suspect we might be seeing that again, and I suspect it'll be bot lane focus from V3. Just an inkling.
Sure.
Just an inkling.
Yeah, Blitzcrank level 1 is the thing. I don't actually think Blitzcrank is the best level 1 champion in a 5v5 situation, because you hook someone into your team. Nice. Okay, cool. What do you do now? It's not like you have multiple AoE CC when you've got, or a very long duration of CC, so Morgana Binding, that's what we talk about her. Braum Concussive Blows. Long CC does extra damage and applied to multiple people if you get them for auto attacks. Alistair Pulverize, AoE, stuff like that. I think that if you stack as 5, I think Sengoku are more than happy to respond to an all-in, and Bard with that double stun at level 1 is still very, very effective.
Yeah, of course. You are running with a set at least, so if the Blitzcrank lands into a face breaker, like you do have some additional follow-up CC, so that does help. There is burst there if you can catch the right target, and people will be squishy at level 1. Another thing is, frankly, diving with Blitzcrank early can be pretty good as well. If you can time yourself right to catch people out.
Diving in what sense, by the way?
Diving the enemy territory, basically saying like you could catch someone out there with the Blitzcrank hook.
Oh, you can just E.
Yeah.
So all like bonk.
Yeah, exactly that.
So like, diving level 1 when you've got a hook.
No, I'm thinking more in terms of the way V3 have been diving level 3.
Well, let's talk about level 1s. Yeah, just dive turret with Blitzcrank. It works for me all the time.
Okay, no, I apologize. Just in terms of the way V3 have been setting up.
I didn't want to flame you. That was like
no, fair enough. Worth asking for the clarification. In terms of V3 have largely been setting up for the level 3 dives a lot.
That's very true. No, very true. You were saying that, and of course level 6 just silence into that as well. Really, really nice.
All right, so now I have justified my point after my color caster is asking what the hell am I talking about, and he finally goes, "Thank you for explaining a little bit further. This is why I am the play-by-play guys." I've justified myself well enough for the analyst next to me, and we're going to see what a surprise level 1 starts coming on here for V3.
Right, so they are going to hug the wall on this bot side, but it wasn't put over the wall by NT. He has spotted that out. Although it will be cleared out, and a small bit of experience will go over to the side of Ace and crew.
Okay, so Yutomi actually wandering into the enemy red side jungle there, looking to see whether he can possibly put down a late ward. Actually,
lane swap.
A late swap? No, surely not.
No, I don't think it will be.
Jin is not the best lane swap champion. He's just as big towers all
So
that
what
fast.
you used to do in lane swap is you have your AD carry sit in mid lane. You check what would happen with a lot of early wards because you basically trade deep wards to see where people were walking back to lane with. And it's where your support is on the side of the map, which really ends up mattering, where they recall to. Because Bard recalled and went bot lane, Jin will be following suit. And this time, we didn't mention it last game, but Archer actually didn't bond with Reiner until like a good 5-6 minutes into the game. Just slipped the mind, I guess. Oh, this is really cool. This is the thing you can do on Grace. If you hit wards and then you have something in between you and the ward, you can hit the ward and the camp at the same time because you've AoE autos. Really good. Yeah, it's just very efficient.
All right, so Boogie doing what Lilias can do, namely start level 1 on Raptors, clear them damn fast, and you mean you can do leashless starts. And it will keep the pace up for both junglers. That's a pretty decent hook there onto NT, but the exhaust actually burned as a result of that is pretty good. Damage was good onto Archer in response. But as you can see, Blank is deciding it is invade time, and Lilia isn't going to be there. Oh, no, she might be there in time. This could be pretty
Blank has
aggressive.
smite. He will need to... Oh, this is easy. Yeah, it's going to be a smite fight.
So does Boogie. I think it's going to be pretty close. It's going to be secured, though, by Blank. It's level 2v level 2. Watch out. Eep is only on the outside edge. Blooming Blow lands, but the damage from red buff is enough, and Blank will get to secure the blue side of Boogie as well as the blue buff. Pyrion's roaming over, but so is Ace. This could be a bit of a scuffle around. Ace finds himself on Azir, and they're going to regret that, but he's going to try and step forward, look for a face breaker, perhaps pull back the Azir onto the Wolf, which was pretty nice, but not enough damage to be found. No summoners burnt, but that's a fairly decent advantage for Blank early on, who gets a lot of camps.
And why does that work? While Pyrion has, he's very nearly getting hit by the hook, but the fleet footwork comes out, extra movement speed, gets him out of that hook range. Okay, why does that matter again? Going back to that last kind of play, I will ignore the fights in the top lane, doesn't matter anyway, right? But priority went over to Pyrion in the mid lane. It's happened the entirety of this series so far, all 3 games. He has the Comet, which is good for the early pressure, and in fairness, if they had that level 1 plan, they said, hey, Blank, let's just try and get you a lead in the early game, that does end up working towards that. Blank now with a level advantage. Oh, he's going to go run straight into Boogie.
Okay, Magical Journey coming across, but NT is going to find himself Reiner and Archer, who have priority. Flash, knock up, first blood to Kalista. Blank and crew have gone too deep. Now the Graves needs to get out, flashes away using Phase Rush, but that's gone all wrong very fast.
Poor Magical Journey from NT there, and what really compounds the issue is that he uses his Cosmic Binding and hits one person, doesn't get the stun. If you get that, and also you told him Ashi is there was no heal, of course, it means that maybe you can get the CC into a bigger kind of trade. Pyrion didn't have the first roam for that play. Another big thing, Blank loses that bot lane scuttle and has to flash out, although he will at least get the top lane scuttle.
It doesn't roam into the enemy blue buff, though. Kind of aware that NT with respawns available could be a bit of a terror. Blank has no smite, though. Could be a bit of problematic. Will secure it, but remember, Blank has no flash. This Graves trying to play aggressively gets punished, and once again, second scuttle in a row, Blank is punished.
They compete over both scuttles, and V3 are more coordinated as a team to try and support their jungler. Appenmen has a CS lead. That's great, but your jungler's dead, buddy. That might be a tad more important. Looking for the early advantage, and instead gives over 300 gold to Renekton, who gets a kill.
Reiner and NT fighting
and buffs too, by the way.
Buffs too, oh yeah. So that buff that Blank took earlier, well, Lilia says thank you for the extended duration on it. I get it later than you would now. And probably actually will have it up as the second round of them will be spawning as well. So that's really great for news for Lilia.
Well, no, so it's Paz that got the kill, remember?
Oh, sorry, Paz gets it. Yeah.
No, so Paz gets the kill. So even though there's the advantage for Affman in the top lane, he has to play against double buffs now.
Yeah, you're completely right. I for some reason
that's
thought
why I tried to set you up for it. And I was like, what? Why are you talking about Boogie? I don't understand what you're talking about buffs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But that does mean Renekton with red buff, and he's going to be a bit of a terror for this Gnar, especially if he can get himself on top of it. Slows could be problematic, and bit of a 10 CS lead up there for the Gnar, but definitely room for this Renekton rather to punish now.
There is. Boots picked up for Archer, the tier 2 boots, which means that dash range is increased, means the follow-up and the chase down potential of the Blitzcrank.
Hex Flash finds the hook. Utori actually now in trouble. May need to think about flashing. That's a Cosmic Binding onto the Blitzcrank, but the exhaust out again, but pretty much off cooldown there has to be used.
Pyrion now in the mid lane gets
hit
hit.
by the Swell Seed. Face Breaker not quite in time. Good QE combo to get Pyrion out of trouble. But that's the joy of Lilia. You can just do drive-by ganks and walk on.
You can do, but it's not like Pyrion is really falling behind this lane. He's still got that 10 CS lead, even though the early scuttle fights have been pretty high action for this early game. We thought that maybe it would be a little less interactive, but because of the side lanes and how Boogie and Blank do want to try and muscle each other out of each other's various objectives they're going for, has been pretty impactful.
Big wave now building up in this bot side. Utoromashi needs to be a little afraid here. They have not got exhaust, but flashes are available. Boogie is coming over. Blast Plant in. Teleport now as well. They're going super hard for this. Utoromashi finds himself a Renekton. Archer picks up the first one. He gets the second. Paz holds aggro, and clean as you like. It is the turret diving bot that we have been seeing all series long.
Help your jungler, help your bot lane. Paz does it all, teleports bot lane for that dive. You were talking about it right from the level 1. We were talking about diving at level 1 with Blitzcrank. No, of course it's the later level ganks. He does end up getting that CC onto Utoromashi.
Whole wave as well.
And it's a whole wave lost. He is now down to 25 CS, 3 kills over to the Callista. And wouldn't you know it, looks like V3 have themselves an early advantage again.
See the replay one more time. They put the pink ward down. They know it's coming, but they can't do much about it.
No, they can't. It's a huge wave. It's a double wave. That's what, 10 ranged minions. We see Paz goes straight from base into that gang. No one takes aggro before Utoromashi flashes out. That's one of the big things. When you're playing gangs, you need someone to take early aggro. Even though Rhino does end up getting that CC after that point, the flash has already been wasted. Doesn't really get a high value out of that from the gen.
So about 1,500 gold lead for V3 at the back end of that. Blank going for an invade, but V3 are ready to contest. Blank gets the blue buff, but gets hooked out away from the Blast Plant. Face Breaker, blooming blows. Watch out, Eep, says the Lilia. And Ace will secure that kill. 5-0 for V3, who are running over the early plays in this game.
I'm getting a little bit tired of seeing Afamen just doing nothing when his jungler is dying so much. I know he can do anything on the bot lane with that teleport, but Sengoku cannot be playing as though Afamen can respond if he's just not going to. Pyrion now getting chased down with a double bust from Ace. This set down 20 CS, but at least being able to impact the map.
And that is Sengoku's saving grace here. It is the laning stats again for their solo laners.
It is, but at what cost? That's because they've been staying in lane when the plays have been happening. The bottom scuttle fight, well, we saw the first invade, Pyrion managed to get the invade. That's great, cool. But in every fight since then, V3 have had the first roam. Ace has been giving up CS for it, but he managed to get towards that top scuttle fight. Paz was there too, and then we went for that bot lane dive. You know you had TP disadvantage. Blank wasn't there to shield that dive. Pyrion didn't leave lane. Sengoku might have got the CS invades, CS advantages, but it's not led to any of their fights being won.
You saw Blank that had to pull off the Rift Herald as well. Couldn't dare stay around and contest when he saw the bot lane of V3 roaming up. And that's the point now. The CS is the silver lining in the storm clouds that are brewing for V3 here. They have themselves over 1,000 gold lead, and it's not even 10 minutes. They have this Callista that's super far ahead. They have a Blitzcrank that's been finding the hooks they needed. They're going to try and potentially push in a little bit here. Our Sengoku Gaming do at least get themselves a plate in this bot side, and that's good news. But they have to hit this mid game and hope Azir and Gnar are ready to bring them into an advantage.
They do, and one of the ways that will be helped with that is the fact that Azir bought Cleanse. There are some unfortunate other implications of that which are not so great. I would have preferred a teleport on Azir going towards Lethal Temper and just build a QSS later.
Afamen.
Not the mid lane though, top lane.
Lilting Lullaby. Good night, Gnar.
So
you
much
play for lane, and you lose your advantage straight there.
He played for lane. He didn't respond to his jungler dying several times, and now he's died in that own isolated death as well. Afamen is not going to be the super powerful Gnar that we saw in the previous games. Maybe it will come out to some side lane plays later in the game, but right now the early game going massively in favor of V3. I know I'm sounding like disappointed dad, but I kind of am.
Well, we've got, instead of Bambi's mom, we've got disappointed dad. Yep. Parental problems throughout this
are
series.
You kid? No, I'm feeding my lane and also letting my jungler die.
Well, as a jungler, I'm very much for that interpretation. Also, got to say, Blank definitely trying to be aggressive and find advantages when things are going wrong. But
the thing is, though, like, don't get me, I think that Boogie and Blank are playing in pretty similar fashions. It's just their teams supporting them or not.
Yeah, sack your lane a little bit to help your jungler out, and especially when you're running with like a Graves which wants to get ahead early. He's not ahead early. He's down 2 levels. They're about to lose first turret in this top side as well off the Rift Herald play. The flash, hook, silence, knock up, exhaust. He's gonna have to be gorgeous, and only makes himself golden. He leaves Utorimiyashi in a 1v2. The heal is good, but now Utorimiyashi trying to run around. Archer taken really low, but that's a no! The Jhin outplay. It was looking awful, but that is what you call style points from Sengoku Gaming with the best outplay I have seen in some time. I was ready to write it off, and they call the ambulance for the other team.
Call an ambulance, but not for me! Utorimiyashi counts down all of those different cancels for his ultimates which are available. There's a hook, there's the ultimate, there's the E. Now he is free to do whatever he wants in the Fate's Call, of course, being used too, and it misses. He sees as soon as he gets out of vision and he's out of auto-attack range on Archer, he's free to use his heal and try and go for a turnaround. There's no cancel on the ult, as we were saying, and Reiner has already used his flash, can't get in front of those bullets. Lands it is very impactful. Oh look, Afman's dead again.
First turret as well. Apperman things are leaving Nightmare in despair.
So, game 2, you know how I was saying I was a little bit worried about Apperman on the because in previous games in the regular season, he has suffered on that Nara if he hasn't got seriously far ahead. He's had a pretty poor track record this season on that pick. We're seeing that again now. Of course, in game 2, I was very happily impressed with what he was doing. He was winning lane very hard. Blank was playing very well around that. And that pressure ended up leading to significant advantages. Now he is 1,000 gold down. His jungler is 1,500 gold down. His mid lane is slightly ahead, and then his bot lane is also 1,000 gold down. Sengoku losing across the board. They're going to have to find some way to bring themselves back into this game, because it is not happening through Lane Kingdom this game.
All right, Sengoku Gaming at least have the saving grace. Utorimiyashi made one of the better outplays I've seen in quite some time.
No, really well calculated.
I've got to say,
thinking on the fly.
Deadly flourish to root Archer up to stop him hopping close enough, and then had to hop his way away from Bard. Great stuff.
The thing which was really impressive for me is that he knew at the start of that play, okay, I probably am going to die, I don't want to use heal. And as soon as the possibility of that play comes in, it's like, okay, I'm using it. Okay, we're good. The Ignite's timed out, they don't have any more cancels, and they don't have another auto attack to finish me off. The play is on. They do manage to capitalize. And not a minute too early, really, Pyrion going to get almost face-breaking into the swell seed. And he fails to get across the wall.
Oh, now Pyrion's in trouble. Has to burn the Emperor's Divide, which is really poor news, actually, because Blank was invading, and Ace still has Flash, has got Facebreaker and Showstopper, and this show is over. Flash cleanse from Pyrion, but the swell seed avoidance. Sengoku Gaming once again finding the clutchest of outplays versus V3's engages.
They do, but this time it's not a victorious outplay. It's one which just stops them from losing more.
No.
That's
All right. This time, there's no chance. The Deadly Flourish doesn't even get to be finished up. Reiner has enough HP to escape the turret shot. That would be an interesting ability.
Can I buy a turret for here, please? Says the Azir passive.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I will have one Sundisk turret right here. Do you think he can, like, go shopping?
You know, there's like 10.13 Phalios turrets, and there are high Miniga turrets.
This is it.
Like, yeah, I mean, I'm down with that.
Is this Boris's side job? Does he have an empire?
Rize is a real estate mogul.
Yes, yeah, like housing is overrated. Turrets are where it's at. Join the monarchy, guys. Towers, turrets, if you're a princess or an imperial warlord, both are great options.
And yeah, the fear of all balloons across the world. Oh man, we laugh.
Well, you know, I think Apperman is currently homeless though, because his turret was destroyed. Popped, one could say, like a balloon in that top side.
Yeah. And Archer, 4 kills now, has the Blade the Ring King.
He does.
Those fights on the bot side of the map are only going to get worse for the likes of Utorimiyashi. He does have Tabby, which will help a little bit, but there's a red buff now. He can't run away from that.
No, he can't. And he's down a level. That one outplay was pretty great, but he's still 1 and 2. It's still a significant difference in plate gold there. That is over roughly 1,000 gold difference.
And one of the things is because Blank was not supported by his team sufficiently, either because he was too aggressive and died for it, or his team just didn't respond appropriately. Now you can see why Pyrion just couldn't push him for those plates. He just couldn't get any of that extra advantage, and that's why. So he does have the lead in terms of CS. He does have that. That's nice, but it's not led to any of these huge gold advantages, which will boost him into the late game. He has gone for the Ludens again, by the way. More of the poke, less of the team fight. I'm wondering whether that does put Sengoku into even more of a rough spot because they don't have that team fight turnaround potential. That lead is not enough for Pyrion right now.
It's not. And you could see he had to play defensively partly because that, and also partly because Set plus Lilia is a hell of a good CC combo.
It is, but you've gone for the cleanse early,
Yeah.
and you need to be able to team up with your jungler, really.
Okay.
Blank finds Paz, does
Takes
end up
him
getting a lot of damage there.
Blade of the Ruin King comes out for the slow. He's going to try and find a fight, but that's a dominance in the bush. Blank might have overstepped here. He has to flash away because Renekton in the bush gets to full combo with that Cull the Meek and a Ruthless Predator as well.
So why,
a bit scary.
Why is there so much damage there? Okay, right, so the empowered W for Renekton, that triple swing, applies on-hit effect 3 times. Your melee with a Blade the Ruin King, which is 12% maximum current HP with each auto, that is 36%, well, just remember, more like 30%, 24, 28%.
Yeah, well, with stats, yeah.
On that combo, and you can see Blank with 0 armor, besides his E and his own base stats, just gets absolutely shredded with that.
And it's not a Black Cleaver first here as well. It's not like he has the extra HP to work with from a Kindle Gem or a Fade. He's gone towards the dirt.
Looks like he'll be going towards Umbral again. Yeah. Which, again, versus a team like V3, who do play very heavily around Vision, I don't mind that. And also, you're trying to secure a safe team fight for the Azir. And one way you do that is by making sure he doesn't get flanked, and TPs from the flank can stop that being an eventuality. So I don't mind Umbral Glaive coming through. Although, actually saying that, oh, no, that does still blow into it. It's like, well, okay, double longsword. It's a Dirk and double longsword for Umbral Glaive. It's just not upgraded into the Caulfield's Warhammer.
Yeah. That's exactly it. You don't get the CDR for it.
See, I play AD Assassins, I do. I don't play supportive AD Assassins, I go full damage.
I mean, yeah, dude. I don't like, in fairness, like, Graves is on the edge of being something of an assassin when he goes towards some of that lethality build. He certainly has the burst to match up to a lot of those assassins.
I miss some of the quick draw combos where you could end up getting an extra auto attack layered over another one, get 3 autos in the space of like half a second into a Q ult. It was so fun.
Yeah, because you could cancel your Q back pull with a good E.
Well, your R. Sorry, you could. Things that you could cancel an auto and get like a very quick second auto. They deemed that not working as intended. Blank walking into Reiner and Boogie will hopefully need to work as intended and escape. He does so.
Right, Ocean Drake coming up in 10 seconds to be the third for V3, and Sengoku Gaming coming in to punish Boogie's in trouble. Has got the massive amount of speed, though. That's a fantastic cancel on the curtain call, though. The Lilting Lullaby was burned. The flash away from the hook is big, but Paz is here with Dominus running. A lot of ultimates burned across the board here. Tempered Fate also came out. Boogie is low.
So, disengage Lilting Lullaby, but we talked about this in Champion Select. V3 rely on that so much. This could be the turnaround fight. Reiner flashes forward, but doesn't get anything.
Oh, he forces a lot of flashes out now. Neutral Mayashi has no summoners. You can see in the back end of this, Appleman nearly at the Mega Nard, trying to disengage. That will be Ocean Dragon secured by Sengoku Gaming, but they need to get out. They can think about it. Appleman is here, but all the while V3 summoned Herald and will get to shove in potentially for 2 here in trade.
Okay, and we set this up as, okay, V3 very much relying on the Lilting Lullaby into a Blitzcrank combo. Yeah, that works unless Archer is so goddamn fed that he can carry the fight on his own if he is not dealt with. He has 2 items for that fight. That 2-item power spike of the Blade, the Ruin King, and the Runan's Hurricane. And what that means is Sengoku do take the dragon, but they can't get a fight. And the gold, because that mid lane turret goes down to the favor of V3, is still in the favor of V3 across that fight.
It's 4 turrets to none. Appleman was looking to shove in, but he's gone forwards. He's going to try and get to the Rage Bar as fast as he can. He's going to get there, I imagine, but he's still against 2 very big tanks.
3.
And there's Reiner here as well, who gets the Mega Nard from Appleman. It's pretty good, but it's still the Rocket Grab there. And Rocket Man will find a secure, I think, with the Haymaker there, but we've had a little bit of a freeze on our end, which I'm sure will be resolved very shortly. And yeah, Appleman going to try and hop out. And it is the silence that secures it.
Does. Okay, right. So Appleman goes down for the 3rd time this game. That's nice. You have to see what's happening around the rest of the map as we see most of the members of Sengoku on the top side, and of course that's the case when Appleman is pushing up blindly in bot lane. He just does that sometimes.
0, 3, and 0.
We love him, but still, dude, you actually have to wait for your team to get something. To get a blue buff.
He thought maybe he caught V3 on a reset, could shove in for the turret while after they backed after the mid lane, 2 turrets went down. They hadn't. Incidentally, they just came and roamed down to see him instead.
Sure. The thing is, there was nothing really to reset for, so there was always the risk. So 10.16, Jin does take towers a bit quicker. His 4th shot has a higher amount of damage onto turrets, and that's why you will see him sidelining a little bit more instead of just wave clearing under the mid lane turret. However, this Jin, even though he has that Infinity Edge, is 80 CS down on, 60 CS down onto Archer. It's like, well, what is 120 and 60? What's the difference between that? Anyway, yeah, it is 60. And this Kalista continues to get more and more fed. This time going for the Death Dance as that third item, not bothering something like a QSS. And the Bloodthirster wants to be a bit more brawly, have a bit more resist, has a Mountain Dragon to top that off too. Going to be very high value for that Kalista.
Yeah, it's similar discrepancy in mid lane in favour of Azir, but again, it's this Luden's Comet build that I kind of agree. I would rather have seen the Lethal Tempo. I'd rather seen the Nashes and the Leandries in this game.
Particularly in this game, when the enemy team is solo range, Luden's and Comet is good for the early stage of the game when you get to poke people out, but you are so much for your damage. You are so much for your damage. And as soon as the dives start coming in bot lane, you really wish you had an earlier Nash's tooth. If you had a Nash's at this point and you were building towards Leandries, you might be able to turn around with the Lethal Tempo and start cutting through these tanks. Yeah, that's good poke onto the Blitzcrank. You can do that once every, 10 seconds instead of like actually shreds through someone with the Lethal Tempo if they were to overstep.
Oh, you can see the hook there from Pyrian sidestepped, but they have got to play Dancing Feet, because there was this question at one point that Lilting Lullaby comes out, but that's a magical journey afterwards that will prevent that. That was well played by NT.
I think the problem there is that they didn't necessarily see the target that was hit at the very start of that combo was out of vision. So they see the hit and they go, okay, right, let's go do this. And then it's the Bard, the one person that can get away from that. Well, maybe the Zir can do, but you can see him on the top side of the map. So he does get away with that magical journey. The finicky little person that I was about to say about whether the thing that Bard is. I don't know what.
You are very anti-Bard.
Yeah, my streams, my Discord, everything. It's a Bard freezer.
He's a Bard.
He's the one champion I don't own.
Yeah, he's an
yes,
awful person.
Kill the Bard.
They're actually going to think about killing the Jhin instead. They're going to hope that the exhaust comes out again, but Ace goes in for the massive face breaker. I've got a bit of a freeze frame, so I have no idea who has actually died. But Utorimashi, sure to have fallen there. And the question is whether Blank has got out. The magical journey comes out from NT, but it's into the Dragon Pit.
No!
Blank
They kill everyone but the Bard.
And the Bard survives, much to Nightmare's unending fury. But that is the jungler dead. That's the AD carry dead. And then it's a 5v3. Baron Shaw to start now. Paz will teleport in, and V3 continue their dominance in this game. It's 7,000 gold. It's 11-1, and it will be a Baron as well.
The only kill Sengoku have had is that 2v2 outplay from Utorimashi in the bot lane, and that has been the only glimmer of hope for Sengoku. Everything else has just been going the way of V3. They're very calm, collected. They know what plays are available to make, even when they are not playing, once again, with the mid lane carry. They've gone towards a more supportive utility champion of the set who can set up for the Kalista to keep carrying an Archer. We were worried about him having Kalista as a crutch pick. Well, I think this pick is putting Sengoku on crutches as he's breaking their ankles.
And just finds the hook of the ages here on Utorimashi walking forwards.
Yeah. That's a really, no, in fairness, he hits that out of vision. And sometimes that's what Blitzcrank can do. You just end up hitting the right hook, and you have to sit and take it from Sengoku. No outplay potential there that time, only a sad future awaits.
So, I mean, look at the item discrepancies right now. It's 2.5 items, nearly that Death Dance. It's a combined cost away versus Inf Edge and a Zeal for this Jhin. It's this set, a little way behind. He's got Deadmans. He's got Spectre's Cowl. He's sitting pretty. This Lilia at 2.5 items. This Renekton at 2 is just a complete terror to deal with. It's not like Azir's got the best tank shredding capabilities here either. So this Renekton can probably do quite well into the Azir right now.
I mean, Azir still kills tanks.
Sure.
He still does. I just wish he had Lethal Tempo and Leandries, like I've been saying the entire game, because that window of power when you get that increased attack speed is just so good in these turnaround fights.
And I'm sure V3 here will have secured themselves Ocean Soul Point.
Yeah.
No one around to contest.
Ocean Rift again, and again, when you have these bruises, these brawlers, they do get so much value out of it. I think the only time where Ocean Dragon is not valuable is when you're against a really high burst team as a zero tank composition, because actually you're never going to survive long enough that the regen becomes a factor. When you have a Renekton who builds HP, has regen as kit, Lilia who has HP, goes towards Zhonya's, Set who is nigh unkillable, and a Blitzcrank as well with a Fate's Call, and a Death Dance on your Kalista. Everyone survives long enough that an Ocean Soul will just regen up several hundred points of HP.
Never mind Bambi. I feel like I've been watching the original Star Wars trilogy. First game goes well for the Lilia. The second one, Grace goes, "No, I am your father," and turns it all around. And this one, it's kind of Return of the Jedi. Or at least Return of the Forest Creatures.
Blank is subbing in for V3.
Yeah.
Turns to the light side.
Well, he's 0-3 and 0. Somehow how it feels like it. Paz gets out of the Mega Knight, and Ace is going to turn it around. There is a redemption coming out that does a bit of attack, but the Showstopper catches Uppermen, and that's actually a lot of max HP damage Uppermen I cannot see whether he's going to get the kill. The Haymaker doesn't quite secure it. And all the while, V3 are shoving in the bot side. It will be a curtain call out. Knock up. But that is a golden Archer. Here comes Boogie. Archer does get the kill onto NT with a rend after the Tempered Fate times out. Neutron actually will not find much with his curtain call, and this tower in the bot side not quite fallen actually because they ran out of a wave.
They do, and just V3 are so far ahead at this point. The limited outplays that Sengoku do have are still being turned around. The Renekton's too strong. He regens so much with his combo, and the Dominus at second rank gives him a lot of HP to similarly turn around these big plays. Ace comes in to save Paz in the top lane. They get themselves a winning play there, and on the bot side of the map, V3 are more than happy to take an inhibitor turret.
Blank didn't back. He saw Paz come over. He might does have no flash. I think he's probably dead. It gets the cull, the meek, but it will not be enough to save his life. Blank spotted the Renekton moving up the river, decides not to back, catches the Renekton off guard, having thought the resets had come through.
He does. Okay, right. So V3 having taken the lion's share of the turrets, the enemy jungle, and the kills too. Of course, they missed that second one. NC, he might have to tunnel away, but he's in danger here.
Lilting Lullaby comes out, and he falls asleep again into the deep void of space. Astronaut Bard goes for the long, long sleep this time out, and it'll be a 1-for-1.
No one can hear you meep.
Yeah, definitely can hear you eep though, because that watch out eep hurt at the end of that one.
Hurtling across the cosmos, Lilia takes down Bar. And NC, again, his stats are not going to look flattering from these games. I think that his Leona game was better than his stats suggested, like I was saying, in game 2. But in this game in particular, he's found it really, really hard to lane versus this Ballista combo, the Blitzcrank Callista. And he's just trying now to find any kind of opening. Blank has been trying the same thing. And because these are desperation plays, which are not necessarily the textbook plays which are always set out to succeed, they're high risk. The risks have just not paid off for Sengoku, and they're digging them further into the pit.
It's also worth pointing out, we haven't actually seen the Ballista. We haven't seen Hook into Fate's Call. It's just been straight hooks. So, one day perhaps we'll see it in this game, but I just haven't needed to go towards it. We're actually seeing here as well a couple stats coming in from production. Just at about 20% of the damage. Pretty low, especially for 7 and 1. Yeah. You know, that's a lot of kills secured. But actually, it's been this Lilia doing massive amounts of HP damage, 26% of V3's damage out of the 4 in the jungle.
Gonna throw it out there. Well, I mean, we see it on screen now. We see that. Lilia done a lot of damage. Renekton's done a lot of damage. In fairness, Renekton has a Blade the Rune King in a tank matchup, which he's been winning the entire game. Nara has that ranged advantage, so he will be doing a fair amount. They've been wailing in that top lane matchup. That's not really what I care about. It's how much you're doing in the team fights. Archer, it feels like Sengoku, whenever he's around them, they just have to walk away from him. The reason he's got low damage is because he's so far ahead in the game, Sengoku never want to get hit by him.
He's so far ahead, they can't fight him, and so he can't do damage. It's an awful life to lead, but that's
not fun.
Yeah, maybe we should name him Teddy. Teddy Roosevelt. Walk softly and carry a big stick, or at least a very large Blade of the Rune King. Boogie now roaming down bottom, but Ace and Blanca around as well. Gonna have to see whether the Mega Gnar can find his way out as well, so he misses. But Ace is here. Showstopper perhaps does come out. That will be up into the wall, but he gets a Mega Gnar in response. Taken solo, and they're just fighting with their wallets at this point. Ace might be in a spot of bother, but that is the hook that prevents the curtain call. Fate's Call back in. Now, actually, the fight continues. Boogie slays Blank somewhere at the back end of this. Archer still dies to Pyrian. It's a 1-for-1 thus far. That Temper fight does get that, and Sengoku Gaming get a turnaround there after V3 went a little deep.
Really well played by Blank to save Appleman for long enough, and the redemption comes in for the extra couple of 100 HP onto their own carries and taken away from V3. They now have the positioning to take this second Ocean Dragon themselves, teleporting back in with Gnar. This is still a huge advantage for V3, but they'll have to wait a little longer to secure that soul.
You could see what they were thinking, but they...
Okay, let's go through this. So actually, Appleman, he has been played towards lane, and he has the XP advantage. The smoke screen here, really, really important. It delays that showstopper for just that little bit longer. Boogie and crew are still focusing onto Appleman. No, he's not the important carry. The hook comes through onto Yutori Miyashi, but then Archer is stuck in place, and let's see what happens here. He's rooted, and Pyrian just DPSs him down. Doesn't matter how many defensive stats you've got at that point. Looks like the carries do enough damage to start killing off that Callista. It's going to be a 2-for-1 trade overall, but remember, these are shutdowns going the way of Sengoku.
Pretty big ones as well, and it's Pyrian as well has earned himself a second item. Yutori Miyashi had 2 as well, but they are behind 3 pretty much across a lot of the boards here.
And I have to say, V3 are looking for the front-to-back team fights. The only fights where they do consistently lose maybe are the ones where Kalista gets picked off because they can't fight through their tank line. Kalista gets caught there, but now this might be better because they're fighting front-to-back.
Pass got dominance. Ace going in. He gets onto NT, showstopper him away from the rest of the team, and the fight goes on elsewhere. Pyrion knocked up. Hook back goes down. Emperor's Divide only knocks them away from tower. NT goes golden with the rest of the squad, but it is only a freeze frame before disaster. That time it's clean from V3 Esports. They will move over to Baron. They will secure the second Baron of the game for themselves as Utorimashi tries to shove in mid, but two members of V3 move back over. And he won't even get that for himself.
Wouldn't you know it, turns out when you do actually have a front line in front of your Kalista instead of the Kalista tanking up the 2 carries of Sengoku, fights go a lot better for V3. They end up picking up a 2 for none. I think that is all said and done. They're going to pick up the Baron, which will tide them over to the next Dragon Spawn. I think they're waiting for... What are they even waiting for? Okay, well, they're waiting for something. And they do get themselves Baron onto 5 people. With only a couple of turrets left for Sengoku, it's going to be very hard pressed for them to hold onto their base.
Alright, so resets now coming through. Back onto the map will V3 go with the spoils of their recent fights bought into items in their inventory. Bloodthirst complete from Kalista probably most critically, but before that, replay to show how they got the 2 picks. That
so Paz is really, really strong, and you have Archer. The Shurelias comes through, extra move speed to close the distance. Pyrion doesn't have enough gap increasing capabilities to get away from the 3-man squad, the dive squad. I am seeing us on Discord. That's great. Wonderful faces.
We are got beautiful faces.
And we see the very 2 quick kills there. NT no longer able to save himself either, and he goes down.
Okay, so they waited the minute there, possibly for Dragon Timers. It might be an option there for what they're waiting for to sort of time that a little better.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the respawn timer is. Of course, it's 5 minutes for a dragon to respawn, unless it's the Elder Dragon, which is 10 minutes.
Indeed. So, Phase 3 though, break their way into the base, have found themselves towards this mid lane inhibitor. Curtain call coming out. They're going to see whether Reiner can interrupt.
Yutori, are you sure you want to stand there stationary?
That was a flash attempt, but it doesn't quite land. Apperman on the side lane, they're taken very low. He's got no Mega now, no chance. He flashes away, but that is a model on the other side. But the Fate's call comes out. Reina onto Yutori Mayashi. You can see the damage coming out, and Archer goes down. Sengoku Gaming are winning a fight. The backline blank is very, very low. Does go for a shutdown onto Pyrion, though, as a kill onto that Blitzcrank. The base is broken, but Sengoku Gaming do find themselves a 2-for-1 on the base.
It's another split fight. They're trying to split this up and have Archer brawl around with several people, but Sengoku, no, he is the sole carry. If you kill that Kalista, you can put everything onto them, and the fight after that point doesn't really matter as much. Okay, let's see what happens here. Apperman tanking up Paz, and it looks like, does Ace go down towards him as well? Yes, he does, and Reiner is there. The Bard ult hits Archer. Apperman, it doesn't matter that he's in a 1v2, and you see him, Apperman actually survives at the end of that, and the CC comes through onto Archer, which is more than enough. Pyrion at level 16, that tier 3 Emperor's Divide, doing a heck of a lot of damage. More gold over the side of Sengoku. You can see why I was worried about V3's comp versus the Azir.
Okay, so it's still an advantage for V3. They've broken the base, but you can sort of begin to see the world where a good team fight for Sengoku Gaming could turn it all around.
Now imagine that with lethal tempo and early injuries too, right?
Well,
that's the kind of team fight we've wanted the entire game for Sengoku. They're getting it at the death of the game, but they are still 7,000 gold down.
Yeah, they are, and it's going to be an Ocean Drake in about 30 seconds. Sengoku Gaming got to contend with 2 waves of super minions coming in, and Boogie as well, 5-1 and 7. It's kind of a secondary threat at this point, doing a lot of work.
It's not been as explosive as game 1, where he was landing the ults to end the game. Apperman has Meganar, they're going in.
Thinking about it, Ace is here, curtain call's coming out, Boogie off to the side, does flash away from Pyrion, but the Lilting Lullaby comes out. That has to be the cleanse now from this is who's in a spot of bother. Ace in the front line, so is Reiner, but Paz is not here yet. That's a Meganar! That could be trouble, but the Showstopper in return into the Emperor's Divide. It's back and forth and back again in favor of V3. They don't get Archer. The damage from Boogie at the back end of it is horrific, and they tried, did Sengoku Gaming, but they could not keep the carries alive, and V3 will look to end it as the Fawn chases down the Yordle. Apperman won't be able to find his way back. That's a chilling smite into a blooming blow, and the fight continues.
He's just stopping the base. Everyone else is running for the Nexus. Boogie playing with his food. Apperman may end up winning this 1v1, but it will not be getting his team the victory in this game.
Wallop, and that's a lot of HP damage. The thumbs up will come along with the secure. 22 kills to 7, 34 minutes on the clock, and V3 secure the game, even with Sengoku putting up a fight at the end of it.
They do, and it was not as secure as Game 1. Game 2, of course, Sengoku managed to disengage more cleanly. So a bit of a mark between the three. However, all that matters is the Nexus falls in favor of V3. And to discuss how things went down, we're going to go cut to a quick break. Don't go anywhere.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to the coverage, LJL officially unofficial coverage of the LJL 2020 Summer Split Playoffs Round 2. Match 1, Game 3 now in the books, gentlemen. It's a bit of a mouthful to go through. We now have seen V3 continue momentum somewhat on their side, now pulling to a 2-1 lead. Match point now in their favor for the next 2 games. If we get to, gentlemen, how did we reach this moment, this place for us? Begin leave it down in the bot lane, potentially. Would agree. Oh yeah, total night and day difference. V3 though really came ahead in the early game, and it just went so far in their momentum, and it wasn't just in one lane, it was all over the place, wasn't it? Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and Sengoku, it just keeps going against them multiple ways. I do want to go credit, we'll zoom on a little bit, I believe, to the 15-16 minute mark in the game, where there was a shine of hope. However, it was the first kill for Sengoku, and, well, Yutori Muashi still shows he's got it going on, right? Initialize? Hmm. And then Nightmare, while there was all a glimpse of hope, a clip to be made for all, it didn't go that way at all, did it? It was just V3 dismantling and slowly pushing pure momentum in their favor.
Yeah. So there were 2 fights which went the way of Sengoku into the late stages of the game, mainly when Archer was kind of caught out without the front line in front of him. I am still a little bit disappointed in Pyrion because of all this, because V3 were so far ahead, but I thought that even when they were ahead, if Azir has the correct build and runes and masteries, maybe they can turn around and have a bit more tank shredding potential. And that's why things got very close in the late game, because Azir does have a kit which can deal with V3's team. It just didn't work out that way because they were just so ungodly far ahead.
Yeah, and it just kept pushing momentum. Sengoku weren't able to prevent V3 from getting either of the Barons. Dragons were in their favor. And even though personally I wasn't quite sure of V3's comp, they show that they could play anything. And it's about that jungle part of the map that we talked about so many times. Jungle seems to be a big part of it, and I'm really surprised how much of an impact it's having across the whole map, gentlemen.
It's a litmus test, right? Like, we kind of know for both these squads, if the jungle has been involved in things, it's going well for the squad.
Sure.
Blank was certainly involved in things, but in a negative way, largely speaking, and V3, while their comp, we had some issues potentially if they got behind, they did have a lot of skirmishing potential, like lilting Lullaby into any of the CC from the lanes was a pretty guaranteed kill, and they teamed up really well to find those kills and get themselves snowballing.
Yeah, and that's how it all went down. Gentlemen, we're going to be going on a short break, but when we return, we'll find out if V3 can put themselves in that 3-1 like none of us predicted, or will Sengoku take us over to Silver Scrapes? We'll find out after this break.